It's not surprising that Real Housewives of Beverly Hills star Kyle Richards and Mauricio Umansky would get sentimental at the wedding of their daughter. The proud parents were thrilled for their little girl, and Alexia Umansky felt teary-eyed over seeing their shared joy at her special day. Alexia married Jake Zingerman on September 6. It was a big celebration of love. The wedding brought friends, family, and even Kyle's rhobh girls together for a romantic Midnight Garden-inspired party. Kyle Richards and Mauricio Umansky were all smiles at daughter Alexia Umansky's wedding. Kyle and Mauricio both beamed the entire evening and were all smiles in all the photos. While they were no doubt feeling emotional watching their little girl say, "I do," more than anything, they seemed every bit the proud parents. It was an emotional day for the whole family. Alexia shared a TikTok post of an epic duet that she and Jake performed on stage with their wedding band. Many of the comments praised the bride on her singing voice, but one follower posted a screenshot of Kyle and Mauricio in the comments. In the screenshot, Kyle and Mauricio were looking at one another with big smiles on their faces. Kyle was taking a video and holding her phone up, but mostly the pair were looking at each other with shared love and joy over their daughter's happiness. The follower captioned the snap, "And there is this," with several heart emojis. Alexia reacted to the screenshot by liking it and writing, crying. It undoubtedly can't have been easy for their Umansky girls to see their parents split, especially since they initially found out through the media like the fans. But while the separation has been hard on the whole family, Kyle and Mauricio have kept on good terms and both agree to put their kids first. Alexia's wedding was just another example of them standing side by side to commemorate a special milestone for their daughter. The Midnight Garden, a wedding between worlds. In the heart of Beverly Hills, where reality is often bent by wealth and fame, there lived a girl named Alexia Umansky who had always believed that love, like a well-shot reality show, needed perfect lighting, perfect timing, and perfect edits. She was the daughter of two titans, Kyle, a glamorous socialite who could stop a room with a glance, and Mauricio, a magnetic real estate mogul whose charm could sell a dream with a smile. They were no longer together, or at least not in the way the world expected them to be. The headlines had screamed their split before they could whisper it to their children, and the news broke not just hearts, but the fragile threads of a family caught in the spotlight. But this is not a story about endings. This is a story about what happens when love transforms, not vanishes. On the night of September 6, beneath the endless sprawl of California stars, Alexia was to be married in a garden no one had known existed. It had appeared overnight behind her childhood home, replacing the tennis court with a wild, blooming wonderland. No landscaper had planted it, no designer had claimed it, and yet it felt ancient. The invitations described it simply: a midnight garden wedding, come as you are, or who you were meant to be. Chapter 1: The Garden Awakens. Guests arrived in gowns stitched with stardust, tuxedos trimmed in velvet, and in the case of Sutton Strack, a headpiece made entirely of live butterflies. No one questioned it. This was Beverly Hills after all. Candles floated in midair, held by nothing, casting golden orbs that pulsed with music. The air was thick with lavender and jasmine, and petals fell from trees that hadn't existed that morning. Kyle stood at the entrance in an off-shoulder gown that shimmered like moonlight on water. Her eyes welled with tears not yet fallen, her lips parted in awe. She glanced at Mauricio, who had just arrived, wearing a suit that somehow looked better rumpled than pressed. For a moment, the air between them softened. "You feel that?" Kyle whispered. Mauricio nodded. "The garden's alive." Chapter 2: The Bride with the Silver Veil. Alexia stood behind a curtain of vines that parted only for her. Her veil, spun from silver threads gifted by an old costume designer from the Paramount lot, glowed faintly. Her dress wasn't white, it was every shade of dawn, shifting in the moonlight. As she stepped forward, something ancient stirred. The band struck up a waltz, but not one anyone recognized. It was a tune that sounded like laughter and thunder, like secrets passed between soulmates. Jake Zingerman, waiting at the altar, looked up and smiled, not just at his bride, but at the magic unfolding. They met beneath a floral arch that bloomed anew with every vow. The officiant, a retired soap opera star turned energy healer, raised her arms and declared, "Do you vow to love not just the person, but the evolution of the person?" They both said yes. And with that, the garden shimmered brighter. A duet with the unknown. Later, after the first dances and the 10th champagne toast, Alexia and Jake took the stage. He played guitar, she sang. Her voice, usually hidden behind the walls of doubt and perfectionism, now soared. It was raw, unfiltered, beautiful. The crowd fell silent. Then something strange happened. As she reached the final chorus, a low hum began. It wasn't feedback. It was harmonic. The trees were humming. The pedals pulsed in rhythm. Kyle and Mauricio, standing side by side without realizing, both felt a vibration underfoot. And then they looked at each other. The kind of look that bypasses pain, history, and paparazzi. The kind of look shared by people who have built empires and raised children, and have seen the best and worst of each other. Kyle raised her phone to film her daughter, but couldn't take her eyes off Mauricio. They smiled, small and knowing, and somewhere in the garden, a rose bush bloomed blue. Chapter 4. The Screenshot. Someone, maybe Dorrit or Crystal or a cousin no one could place, took a photo. It was a candid shot, Kyle holding up her phone, Mauricio leaning in, their faces aglow with something unnameable. Later that night, the photo made its way to TikTok, where a fan captioned it. And there is this. Alexia saw it the next morning, veil still on the chair, heels still in the grass. She didn't say anything at first. She just stared at the image, eyes prickling. Then she wrote one word, crying. Because that's what healing looked like. Not dramatic reconciliations, not big gestures, just a look, a moment. Chapter 5. What the Garden Gave. The garden didn't disappear after the wedding. Not immediately. In the weeks that followed, strange things happened. Lissarina claimed her roses started blooming in the shape of letters. Sutton said she heard her grandmother's voice in the wind. Even Kyle, practical and poised, swore that one night, while watering a lingering orchid, she heard the garden say, "Thank you." It became a place of memory. For Alexia, it was the place she became more than a daughter, more than a cast member's child. She became a woman who had stepped into her own story. For Kyle and Mauricio, it was something else entirely. Chapter 6. The After. They didn't get back together, not in the way magazines would hope. There was no romantic reunion, no exclusive photo shoot. But something had shifted. They began to meet for coffee every Sunday, not to talk logistics or schedules, but just to be. They walked their dogs. They shared memories without bitterness. And one day, Kyle brought a seed from the garden to Mauricio. "What's this?" he asked. "A piece of that night," she said, "in case you ever want to grow something new." Epilogue. The garden lives on years later. The Midnight Garden became legend. People whispered that if you truly believed in love, not the perfect kind, but the resilient kind, you could find your way back to it. Some said the garden still appears to those who need it. A patch of earth that blooms overnight. A forgotten courtyard suddenly filled with fireflies. A rooftop where vines climb walls faster than they should. And in every version of the story, two figures stand at the edge, watching their daughter become a star in her own right. Smiling, always smiling. Because love, like gardens, doesn't always grow the way we expect. Sometimes it blooms wild. And sometimes it brings us back to ourselves. Alexia Umansky's wedding was supposed to be held at a luxury venue in Malibu. The vendors were booked. The vision boards were full of white orchids and crystal chandeliers. Then the garden happened. Literally, overnight. The tennis court behind Kyle Richards' house turned into a full-blown enchanted garden. No landscapers, no deliveries, just vines, blooms, moonlight, and mystery. So, naturally, they went with it. Invitation update. Midnight garden wedding. Come as you are, or as who you've always been. A dress that changed color in the light. Alexia walked down the aisle in a dress that shimmered like sunrise. Not white, not beige, just magic. She wasn't nervous. She wasn't even thinking about the cameras. She was looking at Jake Zingerman, the boy who once forgot her birthday, then made up for it by flying to her dorm with 100 sticky notes and one really bad guitar cover of Yellow. Jake was crying. Alexia laughed. They met at the altar. No notes, no paper vows, just truth. Do you promise to love the person and their evolution? Yes. Yes. And the flowers bloomed. Literally. Like actually. The dut that broke TikTok. Later that night, after 2.5 champagne flutes and 0 food, the bride grabbed the mic. Jake strummed the guitar. Alexia sang. A mashup of Adele, Coldplay, and something no one could name. The guests hypnotized. But that wasn't the best part.